Hi everyone, there are many reasons why I decided to change my caravan, and in this video I will cover the topic in more detail. Before we start, I just want to mention the caravan models I will be talking about. A 2019 GoPod SC Special Edition and a 2021 Swift Basecamp Plus 2. Over the years I owned different types of outfits. All have their pros and cons. When I say upgrade, I don't mean that my previous outfits were not fit for purpose. On the contrary, each of them had their uses, and so it's now time to have a closer look at some of the differences. When you look at the design, you have to admit that both caravans stand out. Whilst the Basecamp is more of a box type with fancy decals and back features, similar to standard caravans, the GoPod does get double takes for its dainty shape. When I bought the GoPod, I personalised the panel colour, choosing a glitter green finish, but I wasn't looking into the same options when I bought the Basecamp, as I found the standard design at the time was okay. I did, however, name my Basecamp and bought some decals to apply. As you can see from these figures shown here, there is a difference in sizes between the GoPod and the Swift Basecamp, specifically in the length and the height, which I am going to mention shortly in this video, and I will give you my observation about the internal length of the Basecamp along the way. If you look at the outside of the units, you will quickly gather that the GoPod roof will be easier to clean, while you will need higher step ladders for the Basecamp. Also, it will be easier to cover the GoPod with a winter cover, since the roof will be definitely more accessible. The external trim with light cluster on the Basecamp is quite bulky add-on in my opinion. It certainly adds to the charm, however, if the manufacturer wanted to be more practical about the space, they could have extended the internal space a little more and have the light cluster flush against the back, instead of having a protruding section. That's just my observation. Internally, the height difference between the two outfits deserves a mention, not only because you have to always be mindful to duck into the GoPod to avoid hitting your head, but also when you are trying to use the kitchen area. The GoPod has a pop-up roof that allows you to stand up straight only in the kitchen area, but when it rains you have to be mindful of the direction that the rain comes down at, if it comes down at an angle or if it's a rainy, windy day. You would expect the membrane that surrounds the top opening to be waterproof, but I found that it is water resistant to a certain extent. After a while the water can seep through, so best to keep the top closed in really bad weather. Towing the GoPod and the Basecamp didn't feel much different. Whilst you can tell on a slope that you're towing something heavier with the Basecamp, you will only notice the difference when you have to reverse. Your reverse park skills towing the pod need to be refined, as it's not as easy as you might think. It is no surprise that both outfits come with a motor mover, or you can have one fitted. I remember when I used my GoPod motor movers on a campsite to park onto my pitch and received some funny looks and comments about it, since the GoPod looks really small. But why make life difficult for yourself if you have a motor mover? A definite plus for the Basecamp is the way you can transport bikes. It is designed to strap bikes securely inside, but I use the word securely very loosely because you still must think about what to do once you put the bikes inside. If you have a GoPod, the transport of bikes is quite a different experience. I tried putting my bike inside the GoPod, but I found I couldn't really secure it to anything, and I was also worried about the cushions getting dirty because of where the bike rested. Getting the bike through the door was also more challenging in the GoPod because the Basecamp has a wide door designed exactly to help with sports equipment. So I bought a GoPod without front storage box, and I bought a pedal bike tow attachment for my car. I was worried that the front box would be a problem when taking tight turns, as you need some clearance around the tow bar, so I didn't want to take the risk. I have covered the topic of transporting bikes in the Basecamp in a separate video if you're interested, so I won't dwell too much on this now. The next topic, however, is showers and hot water. You will find neither of those in the GoPod. Therefore, you will always need to rely on staying at a campsite with full facilities. The kitchen sink has a tap that draws cold water, so you could use a kettle to mix your water for washing up. Size-wise, the base camp has a larger basin with a mixing tap that draws from the onboard heated water tank. Although I'm not 100% happy with the hot and cold mixer tap in the base camp shower compared to my previous Sterling Caravan, it is still a big plus to have one when you upgrade from the pod. Same with the toilet too. You have a portable loo to take out of a cupboard in the pod. If you don't have a dedicated outside tent for it, you will have to use it inside, and it might be unpleasant if you're not traveling solo. Because the entry door is at the rear of the caravan, the choice of awning is smaller than if you own a caravan with a side door, but you can still find a good solution by doing some research. For short weekends away, or when we can guarantee sunny and hot weather, we choose to bring the Sandcamp 200 with us. That fits nicely on the base camp. It is light to carry and very easy to put up. For longer holidays, we choose the Quest Falcon Air 200. You can still open and roll up the front to turn it into an open awning, but it also gives you full protection from the weather when it's all closed up. For the GoPod, the best option I found was to buy a tent add-on piece to modify to fit. It worked very well after a few planned adjustments, and because the top of the GoPod is easily reachable, it was the easiest awning to put up on my own without the need of steps. But you better have good sewing machine skills with this awning, as you will need to cut the excess material off the top of the tent and use it to close up the gap on one of the sides. Don't forget, this is a tent add-on piece, not a standalone caravan awning as such. It wasn't too difficult to do, and it gave us a good makeshift awning to use with the pod. If you want to store ice cream or frozen chips, forget the pod. It comes with a fitted portable box fridge that can get freezing cold and at times ruin lettuce, but does not have a separate freezer compartment. The Basecamp fridge in comparison is more like a home fridge with a separate freezer compartment and also generous in size. One feature I really like in the GoPod that is missing from the Basecamp is an external door latch when you want to keep the door fully open. The Basecamp door doesn't fully open and can't be fixed into place safely when open, therefore it is subject to the wind. It can slam close too easily if you have a gentle breeze. You don't have this issue with the pod or even with some other caravan brands, and it is something I really miss. Both doors come with an inset screen, so you can leave your door securely open to get fresh air in. But in the Basecamp, unless you're using an awning, you are at the mercy of the weather. The GoPod comes complete with removable carpets, while in the Basecamp you will have to source these or rugs separately. It's not a bad thing really, because I often remove the carpets, especially during the warmer summer months, making the floor easier to clean when I'm away. Also, if you're using the Basecamp for sports equipment, you don't want the carpets to get in the way or to get dirty. With time, you will put your own stamp to your caravan and add features to make yourself more comfortable. Both outfits have a nice livable space, different cooking facilities and removable tables. The advantage of the Basecamp is that the table can also be used outside, and it feels a little bit more stable overall, while the pod table is designed to stay in, but you can buy an attachment for the central leg to be used outside if you want to. The pod's bedroom is compact in length but spacious in width, equivalent to a large bed, and two people can sleep quite comfortably as long as they're not extremely tall. In this case, a tall person might end up having to point their feet in the corridor gap, and even this solution would be okay. When I say a tall person, I mean anybody taller than 5'10". For the Basecamp, the mattress space is equivalent to a king-size bed, so it's bigger, and depending on your height, you can sleep in either direction. The setup in the Basecamp is more flexible because you can easily bring a friend with you and have your own individual single bed with corridor in the middle with a small table up between the two of you. I hope you found this video useful. I have a few more videos on caravanning and in particular Basecamp too. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you!